Taiwan, a tiny island nation that could ignite the next world war. To many, it's just another country on the map, a speck off China's southeastern coast. But to Beijing, it's a renegade province that must be brought back under control. To Washington, it's a strategic ally in the Indo-Pacific. And to New Delhi, it's become a symbol of silent defiance against a rising China. But here's the question. Why are India and China both obsessed with Taiwan? This is a story not just about geography or ideology. It's a story of trade, chips, military tension, and a power game that stretches from Silicon Valley to the Himalayas. Let's start with China. China has always claimed Taiwan as its own. Since the end of the Chinese Civil War in 1949, when the defeated Kuomintang fled to Taiwan and set up a rival government, Beijing has viewed the island as unfinished business. Reunification is a national obsession, deeply tied to Chinese nationalism and President Xi Jinping's legacy. In Chinese textbooks, Taiwan is never referred to as an independent country. Maps sold in Beijing always show Taiwan as part of China. But here's what makes Taiwan so valuable. Semiconductors. Taiwan is home to the world's most important chip manufacturer, TSMC. This company alone produces more than 60% of the world's semiconductors and over 90% of the most advanced chips used in everything from iPhones and laptops to fighter jets and missile systems. In short, whoever controls Taiwan could control the global tech supply chain. That's why the United States is so heavily invested in Taiwan's defense. It's why Japan, South Korea, and Australia are watching Taiwan's fate closely. And it's also why India, even though it doesn't have diplomatic ties with Taipei, is quietly expanding its relationship. Now let's flip the lens and look at India. On the surface, India has always maintained a one China policy, which means it officially acknowledges Beijing's claim over Taiwan and Tibet. But unofficially, things are changing. Why? Because of the LAC, the line of actual control, the de facto border between India and China. Since the deadly Galwan Valley clash in 2020, relations between India and China have hit rock bottom. Thousands of soldiers remain deployed in freezing Himalayan heights. Trade ties are sour. Trust has evaporated. And in New Delhi, there's a quiet shift happening. The government is recalibrating its China policy, and Taiwan is at the heart of it. In recent years, India has allowed more Taiwanese companies to invest. New Delhi has increased cultural and academic exchanges. Taiwanese officials are invited, discreetly, to events in India. In 2021, Indian media began openly celebrating Taiwan's National Day, a move that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. So what's India trying to do? Think of it as strategic signaling. By warming up to Taiwan, even without formal recognition, India is sending a message to Beijing. Two can play this game. Just as China plays the Pakistan card against India, New Delhi is showing it can respond in kind with Taiwan. But it's not just about tit-for-tat diplomacy. India sees Taiwan as an economic opportunity. As the world diversifies away from China, Taiwan's chip makers are looking for safer, friendlier destinations. And India, with its massive workforce and growing tech sector, is positioning itself as the next semiconductor hub. In 2023, the Indian government rolled out a massive $10 billion incentive plan to attract chip manufacturing. And guess who showed interest? Taiwan's Foxconn, the same company that assembles iPhones, pledged investment in Indian chip plants. The message is clear. India wants a slice of the semiconductor pie, and Taiwan is a key partner. But let's step back and ask, why does Taiwan matter so much? Because it sits at the heart of the first island chain. A string of islands stretching from Japan to the Philippines, acting as a natural barrier against Chinese naval expansion. If China were to invade Taiwan and succeed, its military reach would extend far into the Pacific. The US presence in Asia would be pushed back, and the entire power balance in the Indo-Pacific would tilt in China's favor. That's a nightmare scenario. Not just for Washington, but for New Delhi too. Why? Because India's security isn't just about its land borders. It's about the Indian Ocean region, where Chinese submarines are already showing up, disguised as research vessels. If China dominates the Western Pacific by controlling Taiwan, it frees up resources to expand deeper into the Indian Ocean. That puts India's sea lanes and energy security at risk. So make no mistake, India's interest in Taiwan is strategic, not sentimental. At the same time, New Delhi has to walk a diplomatic tightrope. It can't openly support Taiwan's independence or Beijing will retaliate. economically and militarily. But it can engage with Taipei on trade, technology, and culture, slowly and steadily building influence without crossing the red line. And Taiwan welcomes this. After all, it wants more friends in Asia. It wants to reduce dependence on the US, and it sees India as a rising power that can balance China's dominance. Now here's something not many people know. In 2020, during the peak of the India-China border standoff, Chinese state media warned India not to play the Taiwan card. The Global Times, China's propaganda outlet, published articles threatening serious consequences if India cozied up to Taipei. That by itself shows how sensitive the issue is. But instead of backing down, India doubled down, not with headlines, but with subtle diplomacy. Indian media reported on Taiwan's elections, with balanced coverage. Indian think tanks held webinars with Taiwanese experts. Even Indian Twitter accounts began trending pro-Taiwan hashtags, a digital signal that didn't go unnoticed by Beijing. And then there's the Quad, the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, a strategic group of 4 countries: India, the US, Japan, and Australia. The Quad doesn't officially mention Taiwan, but its actions, joint naval drills, supply chain cooperation, and Indo-Pacific strategies, are clearly designed to counter China and protect regional partners, including Taiwan. So where does all of this lead? Here's the sobering reality. Taiwan is no longer just China's internal issue. It's become the front line of a global contest between authoritarianism and democracy, between control and freedom, between a rising China and a coalition trying to push back. And India is at the crossroads of this conflict, not as a bystander, but as a silent player making big moves behind closed doors. Whether it's building chip factories, sending ships to the South China Sea, or quietly hosting Taiwanese delegations, India is slowly increasing its Taiwan footprint, because it knows this tiny island could shape the future of Asia. So the next time you hear about Taiwan in the news, remember, it's not just about one island and one claim. It's about semiconductors, shipping lanes, power politics, and the future of the entire Indo-Pacific region. And in this silent war of influence, both India and China are playing a very long game.